Hello and welcome to day 2 of the Global Men's Summit with a focus on masculinity and relationships. Today we have a collection of incredible men from all around the world who are going to vulnerably share their stories and open up for the opportunity for you to vulnerably ask your questions as they helpfully guide you through some of those potentially awkward situations that you may have been struggling with. Today, starting us off, we have Soleiman Bolour, who has been coming, he's got an interesting story, as an Iranian Jew born in Germany, raised in California, where he still currently lives. He has taken a fantastic and very interesting journey as he has become a neo-Tantra and mindset coach for men, interweaving his studies of sacred sexuality, psychology, and NLP, known as neuro linguistic programming, as he guides men through their transformations into what they want to be today. So Soleiman, thank you so much for being here today.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Very welcome. So take it away.
I'm excited to be here. Yes, thanks. Yeah, thanks for setting this up. Really appreciate that. And yeah, so I've been studying what I call now Neo-Tantra, or sacred sexuality, for about 17 years now. And it's sort of been my journey to, I can call it awakening, and I'm always continuing to awaken. It never ends. The awakening never ends. And so it's just been my way of exploring myself and discovering more of who I am, and to discover that, the idea of sexuality and sex, and the sort of like trajectory, or the, how do I say it? Like what we're looking towards as the goal, like, ooh, if I know how to do all these tricks, you sort of come on the other side realizing that it's so much more. It's so vast. It's so much more than just about sex. It's about embodiment. It's about sort of like being with someone, and consent, boundaries. There's so much to it. So I can go on and on about it. Take a moment to take a deep breath. Feel like I was rushing for a second. And yeah, and so when I sort of do my calls, or I have a group, a Facebook group called Slow Sex, Redefining the Meaning of Sex. And we always start with a grounding. And so I'd like to take a few minutes to sort of ground us. So yeah, go ahead and just allowing yourself to take a deep breath in through the nose, and opening the mouth and sighing it out. You'll feel more like that, inhaling through the nose, opening the mouth and sighing it out. And now just allow your hand to come on your heart and your belly, and just notice, at the end of the day, any exercise, any practice, anything that has to do with developing yourself always starts with you, the self, and then you can take it to another. Yeah, thanks for allowing me to bring us here, drop us in, bring us to the present. Yeah. Trying to feel into what's sort of appropriate for this moment. The thing that I always share with any man that comes towards me or to me, whether it's sort of my free 45-minute session that I offer, or my programs, my workshops, whatever it is, the first thing that I always tell them is, or teach them, is about breath, sound, and movement. And I think that's sort of, for me, it's become the foundation of, it first started out about being about, when you're with someone or a partner, how to make your lovemaking or your connection stronger and better. And now I'm recognizing that it's a way of life. It's not just when you're intimate with a partner. And so breath, sound, movement, what does that mean? So breath. So a lot of us, the way that we live our day-to-day life right now, is we're not really breathing consciously. We're in either fight or flight, or we're anxious, or we're frustrated, and we generally hold our breath. So what I teach to begin with is just remember to just take a minute out of your day throughout the day and just take a conscious breath. And what that does is sort of regulates the body. It brings you back to the present moment. And it just allows you to just witness, where is your mind? Where are you at? So breath. The next one is sound. This is particularly specific to, it does connect to lovemaking. And at the same time, sound, our voice, is our expression. And what happens is a lot of men and women, I can't just say for men because I've been learning more about, and women in interaction when it comes to being in intimate relationships. Hey, James. And what happens is that what we do is we either hold our breath, our sound, we don't express what we want, we don't set our boundaries, we don't share our expression. And so that again tightens us up, closes us off. And so what I teach the men is to, if you don't have any words, just make a sound. So, step one is breath. So inhaling and then opening the mouth and making a sound, ah, or whatever wants to be expressed through that vocal cord, allow it to be expressed. So you can then, again, move stagnant energy. And then the final one is movement. In today's culture or today's society, a lot of us are sitting on desks in front of computers. So the way that our bodies are becoming conditioned is to sort of sit in a, it's an interesting posture. We're not meant to be sitting that way for such long periods of time. So again, I tell the men, make sure you're moving. And especially during lovemaking, a lot of men are sort of like either stiff or stagnant, or like, there's one or two positions that I know of, and those are the positions that I'm gonna stick to. And what I teach them is that your body is yeah, exactly. There you go. That's the one, James. So the movement, move your hips, move your body. And so when you do all these three together, what happens is your body starts to, your channels start to open, your body starts to move, you start to awaken, you start to feel more. So generally what this would look like, or what I sort of demonstrate to men, is it would go like this. So breath, sound, movement. And it's generally, you want to move your hips, you want to move your arms, you want to get your sort of joints, all your joints sort of moving. And what I've noticed is when men start to do this, they actually start to feel more, not only in their body and their senses, but they start to feel more in their emotions. They're connected more to their emotions and their embodiment. And then they start to sort of be able to support other men. What they recognize, they can actually feel what resonance another man is experiencing because they're so tuned into themselves. So powerful, very, very simple practice, very powerful. It's funny. A lot of people want this sort of like, how do I do sex magic? Or how do I do da 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 da? Or how do I do da da? It's like they want like the sort of like things that they've heard are like, oh, this is miraculous, and I want this sort of bells and whistles. And it's like, the bell and whistle is the breath sound movement. The rest of it is just, as you progress in studying breath sound movement, that just comes with time. The other things you just learn along the way. It's those magic things that you've heard about aren't the like, oh my God, it's got to be so complicated. It's like, no, it's actually really fucking simple. So, yeah. Yeah. What else? What else should I talk about, Alicia? Any other
Well, we had talked about what consent looks like for men and women.
Consent, yes.
And we can't forget about the effects of porn on the body and the mind.
Yeah, consent. So, yeah, consent is an important thing for us to educate ourselves on. Um, so, as a cuddle party facilitator, and I am currently the president of Cuddle Party Inc. It's a nonprofit organization, and basically, what the president means is I just do the day-to-day operations. I sort of oversee the organization with the other board members. And the one thing that I've learned about through the 4 or 5 years that I've been a part of this organization is consent just makes it so much, for me at least, it makes it so much easier to be able to interact with somebody. Because what happens is once I know what they're a yes to, I can go to that limit. I'm free to play in that limit. And I think that's all we want at the end of the day. We all want freedom. And so if we're able to know that, okay, like one partner would want, I don't know, let's say they're willing to go as far as getting spanked and they're, choked, and that's their limit, right? And then you have another partner who's like, I'm no spanking for me, no choking for me. I just want soft, tender touch. So in both those scenarios, I have the freedom to be able to play and know, great, this person, this is their boundary, or they've consented to this, and it adds to boundaries as well. It's like, this is their boundary and they're a yes to that. And this person is a yes to this. And they're a no to whatever all those other no's there are. And I get to take responsibility and own and acknowledge what this person has asked that I can do to them. And same thing for myself, right? If somebody wants to, I don't know, take a match and light me on, like burn my hair, right? I'd be like, I don't consent to that. Now I want to believe that the person that I've said, no, don't do that to me, they're going to honor me and not do that. And what I think sort of when I've been digging for myself and the things that I've looked at myself is that the way that I was sort of taught when I was younger and how I sort of interact with women specifically is that if they say no to you one time, you continue and continue until you get a yes. So, and this brings tears to my eyes because that's not the man that I am today. When I was in my 20s, yeah, there are times where I would either go out to a bar or an event and it'd be, hey, so how are you? What's going on? What's your name? Do you want to hang out? Do you want to go? No. Why not? What's wrong? What do I do? It's like, it's this constant, like trying to find a way or trying to find something that I can pull them so they come either back to my place or we go back to their place. And then once sort of I've gone that far, then it's the challenge. Then again, I'm up against this idea of like, oh, you got to get what you want. You got to get what you need out of that. And that's not the way. It's not the way. What I've recognized now is I'm a sovereign being and I want the woman to be a sovereign being. And I want to give her the right and choice when she says no the first time. That's no. Like, I'm not going to try to convince it I'm not trying to manipulate, convince, circumnavigate, make up stories as to why, ooh, I have this fancy schmancy thing, come see it. No, a no is a no. And I think one of the hardest ones or lessons that took me a while to sort of learn was whenever I am so let's say you've gotten a yes, like you met them, they're like, yes, let's go, let's hang out. They come to your place, she's there, and you're about to get into, let's just say, kissing and sexual act. And all of a sudden something's changed, like you notice a subtle shift, something shifts, and either she stops or she says, can we say, it's almost it's you feel a no. There's a no in her sort of like demeanor, her body. And the most important thing in those moments is to stop. Is to stop and acknowledge that there's something amiss here. There's not a connection. There's either she's not wanting to move forward, or there's something that's needing to shift and you're not shifting it. So making sure to feel those moments, that if she says energetically in her body, if she says no, that you stop and say, what's going on? Should we continue? Should we not? Because in the long run, what I've noticed is that the more that we act this way as men, the more I'm actually going to get my needs or desires, whatever it is, I promise they will get met 10 times fold, because you're going to call forth those people and that person. If it's one person or multiple people that you want to be partnered up with, when you are being in integrity and really, really honest with your boundaries, their boundaries, like the respect that you have for them, it will show up. It will show up by either the people that come towards you, or just by who you are. You're going to get more experiences and relationships that will really, really, you'll enjoy them more. And that's been my experience the past 10 years. Is I've had some amazing experiences. I'm truly grateful, and I wish to continue having more of those lovely experiences, whether it's lovely cuddling, sexual acts, whatever it is, platonic, just beautiful friendships, just connections. But at the end of the day, is recognizing consent and boundaries are really, really important for safety and feeling free to play in that container, or whatever it is.
Soleiman, but what about when the guys start to feel that lack of alignment and those subtle feelings within themselves, and how do they navigate that with the women that might want to be that are more interested in continuing on that engagement at that moment, men honoring their consent?
Yes, thank you so much for that. So this is my just recent relationship. I was the one, and I have some shame around this, but I was the one that would stop the sort of, say when we were in a lovemaking session, there'd be moments where I would stop. And what that's taught me is recognizing that there's nothing wrong with me. There was this idea that I would judge that, if I stopped sex, that I was less than, I wasn't a man, that I was a weakling, that I was, gay, not wanting to have sex with a woman. Like all these stories and judgments would come up as to what it means about me as a man that I would stop engaging in sexual activity with a woman. And what I recognize, it has nothing to do with sexual orientation. It has nothing to do with there's anything being wrong with me. Those are all just stories that we've created. At the end of the day, it has to do with just trusting in that moment as to what's the next right thing, or what's the next highest choice that my body's asking for. And I have to say, every single time I probably stopped sexual connection, or sometimes it was more like cuddling and kissing. I think I stopped it maybe 4 or 5 times or probably like 40 or 50 time relationship connection the past year. And the thing that I realized that came on the other side was always this awakening, or this understanding, or this clarity of what she thought about it, and her response. For the most part, I'd say 4 times of it, she was like, let's just slow down. Let's stop. And there was one time where she became very upset and actually left the room, where it sort of like hurt her for not wanting to engage with her. So out of the 5 times that I stopped it, the 4 times it was, yeah, let's just stop. We don't need to go further. And what that really taught me was that really honoring myself and knowing that speaking up my truth in that moment, then actually led to the next day us having like a 10 times more epic lovemaking. Because what happened, what allowed it to do for us was open up this sort of this hidden box of my shame, my fear of losing her, of not being man enough, like all these stories that I've held about who I am and who I think I am as a man, and quote unquote what a man needs to do. Like I need to be the initiator. I need to be the one that jumps on. It's like all these things that we've sort of like thought of what masculinity is, and just allowing ourselves to really, really, when we're in a lovemaking, and it depends from person to person, right? One partner might want to always be the one who's, she wants to always be receptive. She doesn't want to take control, and that's just her personality. The way that my partner and I were in our relationship, I consider myself I'm a switch. I'm fluid in my sexuality. I don't really label myself. And the way that we were very fluid. She would sometimes want to lead, and I would surrender, and I would want to lead, and then she would surrender. So it was a beautiful sort of playful. It would just flow really beautifully with each other. Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's there's always a learning from every single thing that happens. And if we can allow that to be our sort of guiding light, the curiosity of, cool, why do I want to stop in this moment? That's where the power is. Yeah. I allow myself to take a deep breath in.
I really want to honor you for your vulnerability in that, Soleiman.
Yeah. Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you for going there and feeling safe, and to the other men and helping to hold that container. I think, does anyone have any questions before we go on to the next? Questions, comments? Feel free to unmute yourself and just jump in. Otherwise, we can jump on to the next subject of porn and the effects on the body and the mind.
Soleiman, my name's Calvin. Sorry to come on late. I just have a quick question for you. You said that you have your company. What was the name of it again?
It's actually not my company because it's a nonprofit, but it's called Cuddle Party.
Cuddle Party. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cuddle Party. All right.
Yeah. I'm a board member. So generally speaking, nonprofit organizations don't have an owner. It's owned by the public. And so at any time I can step down and somebody else can run it. So it's for the people. Nonprofits are generally for the people. Yeah, cuddleparty.com. Check it out. Great organization. It's been around since 2004. So yeah, great question. Thanks, Calvin. Okay. So porn. So first off, I want to say that when it comes to the study of neo-tantra or tantra, the esoteric tantra, doesn't believe that anything is right or wrong. There's no such thing as right or wrong. It holds everything as infinite possibility. So everything and anything is possible, right? And so when it comes to porn, porn is neither good or bad. It just is. And I've been user of porn. I have been addicted to it. I have used it, addictively, habitually, to sort of move away from my emotions and to move away from truly being in the present and feeling what it is that my body actually wants to experience. So whether it's connection, intimacy, what is happening in my life in this moment. In the past, I used to resort to porn. And so what I've studied for myself, it took me a good, probably when I was in my 20s, it took me a good 3 years to overcome it. I wouldn't say overcome it, but to recognize how to use it for how to use it effectively versus using it unconsciously. And what I recognized for myself is what it did to my mind was I was able to, so say I was exploring my body for half an hour. And what I noticed what it did to my mind was it allowed me 20 or 30 different images of something, of a woman, of different women or different men and women. I generally watch straight porn only, and my straight porn is really soft porn, not really the hard porn. And what I noticed is, wow, I get to see 20 or 30 different people connecting and being intimate with each other. And my mind, sort of what it does is actually believes that this is true. Because in our mind, what happens is our mind doesn't know what's reality and what's fantasy. It actually thinks that it's all, it can't differentiate. So that's why they've done a lot of studies on sort of like when specifically sports players, when they close their eyes and they imagine actually shooting the ball in the hoop, for instance, like basketball players, they've done a study. They've noticed that for people that actually imagine it in their head, their skills actually become better. Even though they're actually not doing it, but their skills become better. So that's the same thing. And when you're actually sitting in front of a computer and you have a session where you're exploring your self-pleasure and you have 20 or 30 different women, let's just say women that you're looking at, your mind thinks that, ooh, I just slept with 30 women. So when you actually go out into the sort of real world and you actually want to meet someone, your mind thinks, well, great, let's get it on. It doesn't understand there's steps before there's steps before that you need to take to then be in sort of a connection with someone. It thinks that it just remembers, cool, I get on a computer and I get to see 20 or 30 different women. So no, you have to have a conversation. You have to chit chat with them. You have to get to know them. So for me, what I also recognize that it does, it sort of releases dopamine, serotonin, the good feeling drugs in my body. And so I started to notice that I got addicted to that. And for me, what happened was my body actually started to not ejaculate as the way that it used to. My body started to actually ache and hurt, especially my lower back. Because I was probably maybe 3 to 4 times a day, I would resort to porn, and and this would go on for probably on and off for a good 2-3 years until I recognized what needed to shift and what needed to transform in my life, and that was to actually feel more and be in my body more. And it took a while to recognize or to slowly put it away and to start building a relationship with myself. And the way that I did that was I started to, one, look in the mirror, hi, I love you. Started having dialogue with myself. The other thing that I did was I would, instead of sitting down and when I was sort of angst for sort of wanting to sit down and sort of masturbate in front of porn, what I would do is I would, like in the past, it'd be like, oh, I got to do this. I got to do this. What I started to do was sit and really acknowledge, like, great. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to enjoy the fuck out of it. Like, stop coming from the space of there's something wrong with me, because that was the story that I was playing out. And what happened little by little is I would sit down and be like, I love you. I love your body. If this is what you're going to do now, I want you to enjoy it fully. And so little by little, as I started to do this, then my body would be like, I don't actually want to do this right now. I actually want to do something different. And so little by little, I started to reprogram my body in terms of what it actually wants to do versus what it thinks it needs to do for that sort of end goal, that gratification. And so little by little, it was, I don't want to do this. I want to actually paint. I don't want to do this. I actually want to read. Or actually don't want to do this. I actually want to go take a walk. And little by little, what happened was, for a good year, my whole transformation happened where I started to paint. I started to read. I started to just walk. Like, I started to make nutritious food for myself. And so what happened, what basically that told my body is, oh, check it out. My body, so our sexual energy is our creative energy, right? It's our sort of sexual life force is our creative flow. And what I noticed was, oh, my body, instead of wanting to release through ejaculation and through quote unquote sex, or the idea of sex, the creative flow started moving into art. So I started to paint, and I haven't painted since then. Started to paint, I started to cook. So other creative outflows started to come from it. And that's how you can notice where is your creative channel moving through. So to sort of bring this to an end, once again, there's nothing wrong with porn. As long as it's used purposefully, and I can use the word educationally, and or with a partner, right? If you and a partner want to sort of like juice it up and change it a little bit, great. Use it as an intention to do that together. Just recognizing, why are you using it? What's the purpose behind it? And just making sure that you're honoring your body when you're using it. Yeah.
So Solomon, thank you so much for all of that. I know that there's some science behind what pornography does to the mind, with changing the neurotransmission and desensitizing us to different situations. And then you had talked about a little bit with the difference between ejaculation and orgasm. Can you speak on that a little bit more?
Yeah. So in the same way that, women can have, they're more connected to their body, so they can have full body orgasms a lot easier than we can as men, because that's just how they're wired. It's not that we can as men as well. We just need to sort of practice at it a little bit more than they do. And so what we've actually as men we've sort of made two things into one, is believing that ejaculation and orgasm are one and the same thing, which is, it's not. That's just how our body reacts to, we believe that, okay, because we are so, where do I start this? Okay, let me start from animals. Okay, if we've ever watched a video of animals having sex, I'd say about 95% of animals, besides some ape tribes, bonobos, 95% of them all have sex just to procreate. The only purpose of their sexual act is procreation. So if you notice them having sex, it's literally 30 seconds to a minute maximum, and it's over. They release, they ejaculate, done. 5% of animals, such as bonobos, they actually do it the same. They actually live off of exploring sexuality. It's not about procreation, just procreation for them. It's about connection and intimacy. Now, so if we think about the 95% that does that, so as humans, what we recognize is great. So thank you for allowing me to ejaculate and feel this amazing feeling. And if it happens, quickly, great. I want to procreate. Why not allow it to happen quickly? So now what I've learned from my own experience in my own body is that what's happened is that we're so sensitive in on our penis that the minute that we feel sort of like the edge of wanting to ejaculate, it feels so good to us that our body needs to release that energy, right? So our body needs to release that energy. Okay, so hold that idea. Now, what if we practice edging? It's called edging. I'm sure a lot of men have heard of this, edging. When you practice edging, what happens is you actually teach your body that, ooh, I can feel more of the sexual energy, sexual excitement, call it orgasmic energy in my body without actually getting to the point of needing to release. So I've gotten to a point, and I haven't practiced this in a long time, but I used to practice this when I was in my 20s, when I first started studying Tantra. And what actually happened is I stopped ejaculating and I would just have full body orgasms. And so what my body started to recognize is, cool, oh wow, I can actually feel the orgasmic state of release without actually releasing my ejaculate. And why is that cool? Why is that amazing? Why is that powerful? Is because if you recognize that our semen is our life force, for a lot of men, what happens is when they release semen, we usually get tired. We usually sort of, there's something, why is it that when you hear about sports players, they actually tell them not to do any kind of sexual activity or release before a sports game? Why? Because it's one of the most powerful energies. And if you release that, you're actually losing some form of energy to be able to be at your best and perform at your best. So holding the ejaculate allows you to actually feel more in your body and to be able to sort of like have greater sensory awareness, more creative energy, more creative flow, in some ways more power, right? And not sort of power in terms of like force power, but cultivating power, creation power. And yeah, so practicing this idea of edging would allow you to get to a point eventually where you can just have full body orgasms without needing to release. And then making the release a choice whenever you do want to, whether it's for a different feeling, a different sensation, or for procreation, whatever the purposes are. So yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Solomon.
Yeah.
I know I'd spoken to a few people and they were very interested in that particular topic that you were bringing forward. I think there is another really vulnerable conversation that is oftentimes taboo that you and I had spoken about previously, and that's the concept of like penis shame, and some men not feeling comfortable about like their penis is too big or it curves in a certain way, or it's just like they're not really comfortable about that aspect of it because a lot of societal things it's like always supposed to be bigger, right?
Yeah.
So if you wanted to touch on that a little bit and how to help men navigate through that, and like just being really at peace and like loving their entire body. There's nothing wrong with the penis.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah. So let's see, how do I start this? Okay. In the same way that every single human being's fingerprint is different than everybody else's, so is our body part. There's no penis, vulva, breast, body, color, look, feel that looks the same. We're all different, and that's the beautiful part of us. I think that's the most miraculous part of us, that we're different. And one of the things to recognize is that every sort of body part has and if you want it, I believe has a counter match or matches. It's not just one, right? So if you have, for instance, so let's say if this is a penis and your penis is crooked like this, there's a vagina, I don't know, unless you're, if you like men, an ass or a mouth, whatever it is that you enjoy, there's a perfect fitting other component that will fit it, you will hit exactly the position and point of the other body. Same thing with being really, really small. You will have another counterpart, another body, another person that will fit, either will fit perfectly, exactly to the specificity of that body part, or that person or that other body part will be like, I don't really like penetration. I just like whatever, right? So recognizing that we all have this perfect connection with one or multiple people, that's sort of wanting to start the conversation, that there's adamantly and like worldly, that there's nothing, you are here for a reason. Like like every single one of us is here for a purpose and a reason. And that's just the purpose. The way that I sort of look at purpose and reason why we're here is to have an experience, a life experience, whatever that looks like to you, right? And so just recognizing and coming to the idea that your body part, especially your penis, is exactly how it's meant to be, because there is someone out there that requires that specific type of configuration. It's exactly the way that it needs to be for another person. Fuck, that feels so good to say. Yeah, coming from someone who I didn't recognize. So in this moment, I feel very blessed for my body, and when I was younger, I was a early ejaculator, and so I had a lot of shame and judgment about. And I don't, sort of the scientific term has changed to, instead of like, what is it, pre-ejaculation? No, there's a word for it. Yeah, so it's changing it to early ejaculator. So I used to be an early ejaculator, and I had a lot of shame against my penis. I'd be like, what's wrong with you? Da, da, da. And so anyways, I basically learned for myself to discover how to truly honor exactly how my penis worked in every moment. Because there still are moments where I want to release early. Why? I don't know. My body, for some reason, with one person, my body experiences itself this way, and with another person, I barely release. Why? I have no idea. That's just my body and that person's body connected together create this new third thing that comes out of it that I have no idea why. So when it comes to you, for your sort of like embodiment and your recognition of your penis and your body, the sort of exercise and homework that I give to the men in my neo-tantra workshops is it's a practice. So you first start off with your mind, and you allow your mind to talk about your body. So what it would look like this, like, I'm so proud of my hands. I'm so proud of my arm. I'm so proud of my penis, my legs, my hairy chest. I love my face. So you do that for about 3 to 5 minutes. You really just allow yourself to speak into it. And then the next thing is you actually let your body talk. So you actually personify your body. So this would look something like, oh, thank you, Soleiman. Thank you so much for working me out. I'm so grateful for you, the way that you feed me. Thank you for the nutritious food that you give me. I would really love it if you stop eating so much sugar. Please honor me a little more with the type of food you eat, right? So that would be the body. I do eat a lot of sugar. Thanks, body, for telling me. And then the third is allowing your penis to talk. That's been the most powerful, I'd say, for most men that have come through my workshops and have allowed themselves, they didn't realize that their penis had a, for lack of a better word, consciousness. Like if you really allow it to have an expression, it would actually speak to you. So sort of like taking a moment, taking a deep breath, and then allowing your penis to talk would be like, I miss having sex. I miss penetrating. Thank you for honoring me and not using porn. I do miss being touched and felt. Yeah, thanks for taking care of me. So again, you allow it to fully, you take 3 minutes. So each of these sections, you take 3 minutes. Your mind to your body to, you allow your body to express, and then your penis. And you allow each of these three to have 3 minutes, and you just express. Let's see, what are people saying? It's fresh air here. Nice. Thanks, Jake. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely, Calvin. Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I think that's the one of the things that I feel, it just hurts in my heart, that we have taken the thing that we are all born from, the thing that we all come from, which is sex, and we've I don't know, we've vilified it, or we've portrayed it as wrong and dirty, and yeah, we don't give enough information. We don't teach it enough. We don't, like in high school, like I was asking my nephew and niece, I'm like, so how much have you guys learned about sex? Like 2 hours worth? And the sex that they learn is the baby. I'm sure you all remember that, like the semen and then the baby, right? It's like, seriously? 2 hours. You're educating kids 2 hours on what sex is, and you then ask why are kids like doing the things they're doing these days? Like, so yeah, it saddens me. And I know that there's a lot of neo-tantra and tantra practitioners, sexuality. Like, there's more of us coming online and finding more ways to share, and yeah, supporting men, supporting women. Yeah, that's my, that is what my path is. I'm a coach. I'm a neo-tantra and mindset coach. Basically, neo-tantra is just sacred sexuality, in a simpler term. My intention is to support men in, embodying a better way of their sexuality, their intimacy, their connection, their mindset. Just discover another way, a new way where we can be both in integrity with ourselves and the people that we're with.
So, man, I have a quick question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
How are you navigating relationships right now in the midst of COVID-19 restrictions? How are you dealing with the fear of people getting close or meeting or talking just because of just the general fear that's out there?
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, Calvin. So there's a teacher by the name of Reed Mahalko, and he's a great teacher, sex geek, and he created a thing for the sex world called an elevator speech. And basically, in a nutshell, elevator speech is basically who you've been with, when was the last time you got tested, what are your, safer sex practices, what is your relationship style, what are you going to make this relationship mean? So you basically give a whole overview of like, what is this connection with you and I going to happen? And with COVID now, the actual new protocol that sort of like me and my sort of a community do now is we actually talk about, so when was the last time you got either COVID tested, or when was the last time you were around people that potentially have had COVID, right? So it's just throwing that into the mix of, hey, we we talk about sex so openly, and why not add in COVID testing? Or what has been your, like, are you quarantining? Are you going out? So the way that I sort of approach, for me personally, and this is not for anybody else, this is me personally, my belief on anything when it comes to any kind of, whether it's flu, COVID, whatever it is, it's making sure that you're, one, self-care. Are you taking your immunity? Are you making sure that your body is healthy? The second thing is really taking self-responsibility. And I want to just shout out to my 2-3 people that are that I've been meaning to connect with the past 3 weeks in person. And every time we come close to the date, they all of a sudden say, I was just in connection with somebody and they told me that their friend had COVID. I need to cancel our meeting. Like, yes, thank you. Why? They're taking self-responsibility for themselves, and not only for themselves, but they're taking care of me because they want to make sure that I don't get it as well. So I think that that's so important. Is great. Have a conversation. Where have you been? What have you done? When was the last time you were near somebody that potentially might have, contracted it? And then talk about, cool, if we do want to see each other in person, what would you feel comfortable with? Maybe one person would be like, I want to be with a mask. I'm totally down to see you, but I want to be with a mask and I want to be 6 feet away from you. Okay, great. Another person might be like, I'm totally cool. I've actually been fully quarantined for the past 6 months. I haven't seen anybody, just the grocery store, and I'm totally open to seeing you. And sort of these are the protocols, da 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 da. So at the end of the day, basically, what am I saying? Communication. I think that's all it is. It doesn't matter if they have, if they've had COVID, if they've gotten a test, if they haven't gotten a test. The two most important things when it comes to any relationship are communication and honesty. It's just like, this is where I've been. This is what I've done. Are you cool to meeting? No. Great. That's the same situation that I'm in right now. I've been trying to connect with a few people, and one of them just recently said that she came back from Mexico and she got COVID tested. It was negative, but she still wants to give herself 3-4 days to see if she has any new symptoms. Thank you. Like, amazing, right? So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that was great. I appreciate your just reiterating what's most important with authenticity and communication and honesty, meaning. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely.
Thank you so much for all of that, Soleiman. Gentlemen, we have about 7 minutes left before we transition. Does anyone else have any other questions, comments?
Well, my brother.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Who wants to go first? Neil?
Well, I was just going to ask, since I came in late, so a lot of the things that you're talking about sounds like you've read, not only experienced, but you've read a lot. Do you have like kind of an introductory suggested reading list or something like that? Because I've never heard of Reid Mahako, and I don't know, I think a lot of us have, at our age, we have personal experiences, that's anecdotal, or we've done a lot of talking, but I don't know many of us have actually specifically read, researched or, specialized material on this. Do you have a reading list?
Yeah. So the first, I'll tell you a reading list. And the first thing is I have a course coming up. It's a 9-week course that starts February 1st. So you could jump on that. It's going to teach you, I'm pretty much just throwing out everything that I can when it comes to neo-tantra mindset, embodiment. So I'm going to throw all that, everything that I want to offer and teach. So that's one. The other one is a really good sort of book that I've studied quite extensively with a few of my teachers, is a teacher by the name of Margot Anand, Margot Anand. And her book, The Art of Sexual Ecstasy, is a great, what do you call it? Guide, manual. She's one of the teachers that brought sacred sexuality and Tantra to the West. And what are the book? ESO. If you want to learn sort of what I mentioned about edging, it's called Extended Sexual Orgasm. That's a great one. Yeah, I'd say those two would be great.
I appreciate it. Just you know, it'd be an introduction to just kind of see what it's you know, the beginnings of it. It's very interesting.
Totally. Yeah, great question. Yeah.
James, you got another question?
Hey, brother. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah.
Question for you. You had mentioned what kids are doing nowadays, right? And, you know, being an inspirational guru in this particular sector, as you are, what would you do to educate the scholastic system, the school system, society in regards to sex ed in this day and age with the rampant internet of having, you know, kids having access to absolutely everything? So, I mean, at a very, very young age, they can pretty much connect to almost any information they want, including sexually. So I'm sure there's some early PTSD going on there that, you know, parents are having a hard time navigating, schools are having a hard time navigating. Like, what would you do as an impactful, inspirational leader to educate society on what we can do about that?
Wow, that's an amazing question. I mean, okay, so education starts, in my eyes, it starts in the home, not in the school. School is sort of secondary. And so the parents in the home need to first educate themselves on what their stories are about sex. You know, because the way that I grew up, my mom, like if I walked into the room and she was putting on her bra, it was screaming and yelling and it was right. So it's recognizing what are we as adults or adult parents, what stories do we hold and what ideas do we have about sex, nudity, and all of it, right? So it starts there. Then when it comes to schools and education, unfortunately, the educational system it's completely messed up. In my opinion, the educational system is so old. The educational system is geared towards putting people out into the world that are workers, that are laborers. It's not meant to be put out there for people to become self-sustaining, sort of empowered people. So that's the difficulty. I don't know how you change that system. I think the best part is like my sister actually came up to me and said, "Hey, can you talk to Aiden, which is my nephew? Can you talk to him about sex?" And I was like, "Why don't you talk to him about sex?" And she's like, "Well, I don't know if he'd be comfortable talking to his mom, and I think you'd be the best person." I'm like, I think you're incorrect. I'm totally open to being there with you, but I think that you need to sort of allow yourself to feel free in your own sexuality, to make it okay for him to feel free in his sexuality. That it's okay. It's totally okay. Just teaching him the boundaries, teaching him consent, teaching him sort of all the things that I've wanting to teach other men in recognizing. I think that's the best answer that I have for you, James. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Soleiman.
much.
I really appreciate your time, your vulnerability, your wisdom. It's been a great pleasure having you here today. And thank you, gentlemen, for asking the questions and being vulnerable yourself in your statements on the chat. I commend you all for that.
Thank you.
Such an interesting topic.
Yeah, thank you, Alicia.
You're very welcome. Such a